The whole time I'm running in secondhand clothes, as I always do, and secondhand trainers, and just pushing through that message that it's not that important, the kit you buy. You know, it's more important that you look after the kit you've always had, rather than having to buy the new stuff. It's not going to make you any faster, especially in ultra running. You know, in ultra running, especially over 9 days, the kit's not going to make you run any quicker at all. You know, it's your mind really that gets you there.
Listen, Stokely, where we tried to be involved, to listen and learn for us all to evolve. So welcome to you and welcome the world. We hope you enjoy the stories to be told.
Welcome to Stokely, a podcast where we explore environmental conservation, our human mindset and adventure. Each week we invite you into conversation with people from all walks of life, people who truly inspire us and set about contributing to a greater place for us all to call home. So please take some time to settle in for our conversation today with our host, Maya.
Hi everyone, thanks for joining us today as we speak with Dan Lawson, a returning guest who back on episode 15, along with Charlotte, who was the incredible other half of ReRun Clothing, introduced us to the world of waste reduction through our purchase decisions surrounding consumption. Dan has recently set a new record, running from Land's End to John O'Groats, the southernmost point of the UK to the northernmost point, a feat commonly referred to as joggle. It's an 822-mile journey which took Dan and his incredible crew 9 days, 21 hours, 14 minutes and 2 seconds. We wanted to talk about adventure, and that we did. My love for Dan and his mission grew even larger over the course of this conversation, and I truly hope you enjoy sharing this moment. We relive as we go over and over his experience on his joggle journey. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians upon the lands where this podcast is created and listened to, and I'd like to pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. So thank you for taking the time today to ensure we continue to connect, listen, learn, and evolve through the art of conversation.
This is already my favorite podcast. This is so good.
Yeah, you see, it's just me. You haven't got Charlotte here. That's why it's a little less professional from last time.
Dan, you know you're the first guest we've had on a second time, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that's a really big. It might be a big thing. Let's call it a big thing.
Big honor. Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what, Dan?
The second album syndrome.
Yeah.
Could go horribly wrong.
Yeah. Hey, so Dan, how are you going, mate? Because there's a couple of things, obviously, I want to chat to you about. And I know you don't have all the time in the world today, which I honestly feel like you and me could probably line up a 6-day race together and spend the whole time talking and you mainly jogging, and probably I'd do a little bit of walking. But, mate.
That's a lovely idea, man. I'm up for that. Yeah.
Me too.
Next year. Yeah.
I'm more than up for it, mate. So because obviously there's a few things have happened since we last chatted. I think a few months ago when I was lucky enough to have a chat with you and Charlotte, predominantly about ReRun and the great work that you guys are doing there. And you know, a couple of those things I really want to get a bit of an update on and to find out a little bit more about. Obviously, one being your epic journey that you've just been on with LEJOG, and also just how about you first give us a kickstart off with how things are going with ReRun? How's the progress been over 2020 so far?
Yeah, ReRun's great, man. It's we talked about it before. And the thing I love about ReRun is it kind of grows organically, doesn't grow massively, but you know, each day we manage to reach out to a few new runners, and we continue to sell our secondhand running gear, and we're just building slowly. Our daughter is now, we've taken her on as an apprentice, which is really great for us, and she's in charge of the I don't know if we talked about it, the shoe bank we have where we give out free shoes and equipment to people in need who can't afford like running equipment. So she's in charge of that. And then we have another member of staff that will join us in 3 weeks or so. And she'll help us with, like, I suppose, like our social marketing and our kind of campaigning to get the message out there. So it's quite exciting. And the exciting thing for me is I've managed to secure a like a cobbler's machine. So I'm learning to resole. I'm learning to resole trainers at the moment as well. So all of those shoes that we get given to us, the soles have gone, but the uppers are fine, and there's still a bit of bounce in the foamy bits. So I'll be able to resole, and hopefully we'll be able to find them new homes, and also hopefully like resole people's like love trainers that they want to hold on to as well. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. Yeah, and things are, they're going well. You know, I think all over the world there's just a growing awareness of the work we all need to do, isn't it? To kind of help out. You know, I mean, there's recently, it's on Netflix. Yeah, David Attenborough did another documentary on Netflix, and it's great because people watch that and then it just jogs something in their mind. And I've had, like 3 or 4 people have spoken to me about how they're changing their habits in their lifestyle just from watching that documentary. So there's more things out there, and there's more messages, and there's more people just changing the way they live a little bit. That'll make a difference. Yeah, so things are good, man.
Oh, that's great, mate. Yeah, I really do feel like there is a sense of change and sway in maybe it is the circles that we operate in, but even if it is just those circles that we operate in, you know, it's still going to make a difference, mate. Like, and you know, someone once said to me, it actually, you can have a lot of change even with a few people. You know, you can make a big difference. And you know, when you're talking on a scale like that includes people who watch David Attenborough, that's getting to a serious mass of people that will be making changes. But you know what, mate? I think you and Charlotte are doing such great work, and you really are reaching out to people in the community. So just regardless of whether you always feel a sense of progress, or you know, you feel a little less progress some days, just keep at it, mate, because it really is good stuff, man. Yeah,
well, I think, I've never, from the first day we started ReRun, I don't think I've ever had a day where I haven't felt some sort of progress. We are moving in the right direction. We are. Yeah. Sometimes I get not annoyed, but maybe annoyed that we're not moving fast enough. But when you take a step back and look, we are definitely moving in the right direction. And like you say, maybe it is the circles that we move in, but we all move in different circles, don't we? And those circles all touch other circles. I don't know, it's like one big, what's it called? Like a Venn diagram. So people, you know, only take one person affected, then will affect another person and will affect another. So it is happening. Yeah, it is positive. And even some of the like bigger brands, I've noticed recently have been like putting out initiatives that are not, for me, they're not perfect, but they are a step in the right direction. You know, marketing companies these days are thinking a little bit further than greenwashing and actually doing a little bit more than they have done in the past. It's not perfect, but they're getting there, and the flow is in the right direction.
And there will be a critical point, hey, when it all needs to really focus on a more positive impact and regeneration in a way, and not just consumption and getting driven by the economical model of buy and throw, you know, like it, and until, and like you say, like once those big companies start to get a little bit involved and then a little bit more involved, that critical point, tipping point, is going to come a lot quicker. It's going to be a tidal wave for sure.
Yeah.
And you'll be
Yeah,
surfing it, mate.
Yeah.
You'll be surfing it in a pair of worn out board shorts and loving it, mate. I'll tell you what. on or off the earth, that's for sure. I realize it's quite funny that I was just like telling you, just keep at it, mate. Keep at it. Don't worry about what else is happening in the world. And then as I went quiet for a second and shut myself up, I was thinking, what am I doing telling Dan to keep going? He's like the master of just one foot in front of the other. Don't worry about what's happening elsewhere in the world. Especially when you consider what you've just done with, all of your racing to date, and now even the LEJOG event that you've just been on, mate, which we'll definitely talk about in a bit. So I do apologise for that, mate. I don't mean to be patronising in any way.
I didn't take it in any patronising way at all, man. You know what I mean? I think it's easy to keep going when you've got a passion about something, isn't it? It's effortless, you know. I suppose that it's the same with ReRun as it is me with running, you know. When you're doing something you enjoy and you're doing something you like believe in and are passionate about, it's just part of your life, rather than like you don't have to. I never wake up and think, oh God, I've got to go and work at ReRun. It's just, you know, I bounce out of bed and and jog into ReRun like happy I'm doing it. I feel it's more like a gratitude, like grateful that I'm doing something that I feel passionate about. So yeah, it's easy to keep going.
Yeah, beautiful, mate. I'm glad that people like yourself and Charlotte feel that about the work that you're doing. I mean, hope everyone has a sense of that in some regard. Definitely. So, mate, let's talk a little bit about the LEJOG. What do you even call it, mate? The LEJOG record. How have you been referring to this most recent escapade that you went on?
How have I been referring? I don't know. Just a nice 2-week holiday with friends. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's a journey, I suppose. A journey. Yeah, a nice journey.
Was it like any other journey you've been on before?
Well, yeah. I mean, it wasn't too dissimilar to. I like those. I've ever since. I think I ran the first time I did a kind of multi-day like running journey. I was raising money for a charity that I used to help out with in the slums in Mumbai in India, and I ran from Mumbai to Goa, which was about 700 kilometers. And the first time I did that, I felt it was amazing. I'd never kind of traveled that far on foot, and it was just beautiful. It was, for me, it suddenly became like the best way to travel, because I've always liked traveling, but I've always been like those longer distances. You're either in a car or you're in a train, and you're not really connected to the landscape. You're kind of just watching it go by if you're in a train. But the first time I did it on foot, there's just so much more of a connection to where you're running through. You're obviously like, you really are. You live every step, you know, and the people you meet along the way, like it's just, yeah, it's like it's the best way to travel for me. So all of those journeys I've done since, like a couple more in India, one in Jordan, it's the same kind of thing. Yeah, I love it.
So how long ago was that when you did that first epic run?
It must have been about 8 or 9 years ago, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when was the first? When can you recall the first moment that you wanted to really have a go at running from the southernmost end of the UK to the northernmost, being LEJOG? It's kind of like the influence of the
the ex-team manager of the British 24-hour team. I first met him when I became involved in the British 24-hour team. His name's Richard Brown, and he was the previous record holder. So he told me stories about his Land's End to John O'Groats run and how he used, like, it was back in the early 90s, I think, and he was running against Don Ritchie, like another famous ultra runner. And yeah, they were kind of taking the record off each other for a couple of years. And it just, I don't know, it just seemed to me that if you're an ultra runner, then you really should at some point try to see how quickly or how fast you can be from one end of the country, from one end of your country to the other one, you know?
Yeah.
So you should be doing I don't know what it is, it'd be a bit further for you, wouldn't it? Yeah, in Australia.
Yeah, mate, that's easy for you to say, mate. You live in the UK.
I know, yeah. But it just seems like it just seems like the thing to do, you know? So it was, and that meeting with Richard and talking to him was probably around 5 years ago or something like that. So it's always been something I've wanted to do. And the more time I've spent with Richard and the more he's kind of been like a mentor for me in my ultra running. And the more it's become something I've wanted to do, not just for me, but also like not for Richard, but to kind of, it's really, it doesn't make sense, but it's almost like a thank you to Richard to say that thanks for all the help you've given me. I'm now going to try and beat your record, but it doesn't really make sense. But yeah,
it's a beautiful sentiment, mate. I think if you're involved in the sport of ultra running, the place and the space where you come from when you say that is one of utter respect. I guess it's one of those things you don't really understand it until you've been there and you've worked in some of those partnerships and you've even had some of those battles with certain people that you develop this real understanding that, you know, it can come across as egotistical, but really it's each other pushing each other to be, and everyone just working together to get the best out of like that human spirit and that human ability. Hey?
Yeah. And it's interesting because like Richard was there for the majority of the time as well, like helping me during the run. I think out of the 9 days he was there for 7 days, you know, and like really pushing me forwards. And yeah, it's funny because I wasn't trying to beat his record. I was just trying to almost like make him proud of me. I don't know. It wasn't that was the main kind of driving force, not like beating his record. Yeah. Just showing him that I could be almost as good as him. Yeah. So, yeah.
So, mate, when you were standing on the start line, you know, say start line, but when you were standing at Land's End, before you set off, what did you have in your mind to quantify or to determine what success was going to look like from this journey?
Success was finishing. Yeah, I had to finish it. I tried it before and not finished. So success was finishing, and I understand as well. I mean, it sounds like this whole adventure was really extrinsic and not, but Charlotte, who was around, and Nick, who was helping me out on the crew, had been around before when I didn't finish it. And I felt a real kind of debt to them as well, because they give up so much, your crew. And I mean, your crew give up a lot over a 24-hour race, but over a 9-day kind of trek across the country, I mean, they're giving up so much, you know, they're giving up work they could be doing, so I felt a kind of, I wanted to finish, or I wanted to at least for them to see that I'd given absolutely everything, even if I didn't finish. That would have been success. But yeah, finishing was success. But I was lucky. I kind of, like when you talk about that start line, when I woke up on that first morning, like ready to go, I go a lot on like feelings and stuff that you have and kind of feeling that energy. But I woke up with I just opened my eyes and I had this most beautiful sense of like well-being, and like I just knew that everything was going to be fine. Do you know what I mean? Do you ever have that before? I don't think I've ever had that quite like that before a race or a run, but I just woke up and I was just in this, I was so calm, but so kind of like sure that I was just being looked after and I was just going to be fine. So yeah, it was an amazing feeling, actually. I don't know, have you ever felt that yourself?
Look, I've definitely felt times where I was, there was something else that was kind of looking after the situation, and there wasn't a sense or a need to worry as we can often do, like, what do you attribute that to? Do you do a lot of other work on yourself outside of training physically for running? Like, do you do any like mindfulness or anything else, or do you just live as with a full heart and try to be grateful for what you've got?
No, I mean, I meditate. I have been meditating for quite a few years, like even before I was running. I've been meditating probably since my early 20s, and like on and off, but over the last year or so, pretty much every day I sit down and clear my mind. And but I think sometimes it just helps to kind of, I don't know, like I believe, this sounds really airy fairy, but I completely believe in the universe. Yeah, the fact that there's energies that we can only feel but we can't see, and sometimes just believing in those energies allows you to feel them, So and that particular energy that morning was just saying to me, like, everything's aligned. This is exactly the right time to do it. Like I always say, I've got a saying. Well, it's not really my saying, but there's sometimes when you're singing the same song as the universe, which kind of means that you're resonating on exactly the same level as the energy kind of all around you. And it just felt like that. It just felt completely right. Yeah, like you say, there was no need to worry. There was no need to. It was just happening. I just had to be in the moment and run, and everything would be all right. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, mate, you and me are going to set a new precedence here, and those kind of concepts and that way of thinking and existing in the world isn't airy fairy anymore. That's a really, it's a really, like, in a way, like derogatory towards that way of connecting with what we have. The ancient tribes and for thousands of years, First Nations people have connected to Mother Earth and the Father Sky and the universe, whatever you want to call it, in that kind of a way where they feel the energy. And we're the ones that have put four walls up around ourselves and a roof over our head and turn on the air conditioning and put on the heater and put carpet under our feet. We're the ones that have taken ourselves out of that natural world, and to call it airy fairy is just to be wrapped up in this modern world that has no connection and a complete lack of that understanding with what is actually real, out there. And I'm so glad that you've brought it up, and it's good to hear, mate, because I think, it's obviously been a big part in being a little bit of an influence in what you do now with ReRun, and not always being so say like egotistical about your running and having a greater purpose to it all, you know. Just wanted to touch on that a little bit. Like, the run wasn't all about setting a record and finishing, because before you started, you really put something out there to people and the running community about what you also wanted to create awareness about. And I think that was through Stop Shop. The idea of Stop Shop went whilst you were running over the 10 days. Can you take us through that a little bit?
Yeah. So, I mean, what tends to happen a lot of the time, I mean, people on those kind of longer runs, people are often raising awareness for like charities and asking people to donate money and stuff, which is great. But what we wanted to do was to raise awareness about ReRun. And we thought like the best way to raise awareness about ReRun is to encourage people like not to spend money at all, because really at the core of what we do at ReRun, that's what we're asking people to do, to stop consuming. So Charlotte was really great. As I was running, each day we just looked at a different element so we asked people to stop like consuming for 9 days or 10 days. Obviously not food, but any other things they might buy, we just asked them to stop. And then each day we just looked at a different, we asked them to reflect in a different way on how they spend their money, hoping that after 10 days, people may like think about changing some of their habits. So like just little things like talking about where they put their money, like what financial institutions they put their money into and which ones are the most ethical, and looking at the most ethical sports brands and giving them like access to reports that have been done on sports brands. So they might, when they go back to buying stuff, they might think a little bit more about which brands they're willing to give their money to. So so that's what we did. And then also the whole time I'm running in secondhand clothes, as I always do, and secondhand trainers, and just pushing through that message that it's really not, it's not that important, the kit you buy. It's more important that you look after the kit you've always had, rather than having to buy the new stuff. It's not going to make you any faster, especially in ultra running. Like maybe if you're a sprint cyclist or a sprinter or a 10,000 meter runner, kit can give you a few seconds edge, but in ultra running, especially over 9 days, the kit's not going to make you run any quicker at all. It's your mind really that gets you there. So yeah, it's just the same sort of messages that we're always pushing out there to runners through ReRun is to consume less, to like make your clothes last longer, look after your clothes, and so that was what we were trying to promote.
Mate, I love how you did it all in secondhand clothing and secondhand runners. It's just, has anyone been blown away by that, or is everyone like, oh, that's just Dan, that's what he does?
Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe it's more of the latter. Yeah, I think in a way, maybe that's just, I'd love more people to try it. Yeah, because it doesn't really make a difference. And in fact, this time what I did as well, I had some of those old secondhand cotton race T-shirts, and what I'd done with them, because I've got a real thing at the moment when I think about clothing. I don't know if we spoke about it last time, is in certain clothes, especially our synthetic clothes, most of the clothes that we use to exercise and run in are, I mean, obviously they're synthetic, but they've got so many like chemicals in there that we're not even aware of. And the more I think about like the amount of like workouts we do in that type of clothing and the amount we sweat, there's no way that those chemicals aren't being reabsorbed into us somehow in however minute a fashion we must be absorbing those chemicals into us. So what I did was, like, thinking about that, is I dyed naturally a lot of those some of those cotton t-shirts with things like turmeric and like copper, and so things that if I was gonna be like taking them in through my skin, that might be beneficial for me, rather than, so like, you know, anti-inflammatory things, and I had quite good fun like naturally dyeing some of those tops as well. So that was kind of just like I don't know, just like an experiment. Yeah.
Mate, does Robbie know about this?
Yeah, Robbie. Robbie's really good. Robbie's really on board with the second. He's one of the, again, those kind of elite athletes, and he's good with his like secondhand kit and stuff like that. Yeah.
Does Robbie know about the reabsorption of copper and turmeric through your t-shirt to give you?
He was around. I don't know if I explained to him. I don't know if he ever asked me why my t-shirt looked like I'd fallen into a muddy puddle or something, like dyeing it with onion. And they did actually. I think on the last day I put on, I didn't have one of those t-shirts that were all dirty or something, and I put on this kind of merino wool like base layer to wear, and in fact all my crew were like, "Oh my God, you look really smart, you look really clean," because I've been wearing these tops that basically look like I'd fallen over in the mud. But yeah, who knows whether it makes a difference, but I'm sure I'd love to see. I don't think there's been many reports about, you know, what is in, especially some of the like really low grade polyester, like what's in that and what we absorb into us. So yeah, I'm sure like clothes that can give back to us rather than kind of poison us in a small sort of way would be good. Yeah.
No, absolutely, mate. Well, yeah, there's this. It's like anything. Like you say, it's just the quantity at which we absorb that is going to be different. But if we're absorbing it, and it's going to have the detrimental effects that it may have. So
my dream is to somehow invent a pair of like running shoes that somehow give back to the trails we're running on. Because our shoes will. I mean, you look at our shoes; they wear at the bottom, don't they? So that plastic has gone somewhere. You know, it's on the trails somewhere. But wouldn't it be amazing to have like a sole that, I don't know, that could give goodness back to the ground you're running on, you know, or somehow something like that would be amazing.
Yeah, I had this thought the other day. It's a little bit along the same lines, Dan. Like, imagine if we made plastic bags out of, say, like seaweed fiber, and those plastic bags ended up back out in the sea, and like a turtle ate it, but a turtle was just eating seaweed because it was like the seaweed plastic bag, and the turtle was just like, "Oh, sweet, like that's food because it's made of seaweed." You know, happy days.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be perfect. Yeah.
I don't know if they eat seaweeds, but
I think that's what we've got to go. We're beyond sustainable. Like, we talk about sustainable stuff, but I think we've actually gone beyond that, because what we have to sustain is not quite good enough at the moment. So we need to regenerate in everything we do. So if we can make clothes and shoes that regenerate as we're moving along, I mean, that would be amazing. So we don't, you have that saying like leave nothing but footprints, but again, I think we're beyond that. We need to like leave places in a better state than they were when we arrived there, you know, rather than leave nothing but footprints. I think that's the way forward.
Yeah, definitely. It's I think that's a concept that's becoming spoken about a lot more, regeneration, as opposed to, like you say, sustainable, because you know, and that's a huge part of regenerative agriculture, where you're taking land that is like very close to, you know, like death in a way, like dead soil, which is dirt, and you're regenerating it to bring it back to life, essentially filling it back up with microbiomes and microorganisms and things like that. Not microbiome, that's in the stomach, but eventually it all comes from the earth anyway. Yeah. So Dan, I've really got to dig in and ask you some details about this run, mate. This 800, because you did 822 miles in the end. Was that the official?
I don't know what the official was. It was something like that. Yeah, give or take a few more. And 10 or 20 miles. I don't know.
What was your official time in the end? Was it 9 days, 21 hours, 14 minutes, and like 2 seconds, something around that?
I think it was bang on. Yeah.
Mate. Yeah. I just pulled that out of the bag, by the way. Don't have notes here. I was following you pretty closely, mate, and it's hard to understand what's really happening on the ground there just through a couple of photos every day and a few very below par average Instagram stories from Robbie Britton. But can you just like, you spoke a bit about what it was like when you started and you had this real calm feeling that it was all going to be okay. But did shit hit the fan out there? Did things go from being blissful and at one with the universe to not being anywhere near those
I'll tell you what, I mean, now it was pretty smooth. It was pretty smooth. There was, I had that kind of feeling like sat within me for pretty much the whole of the 9 days, apart from the second to last day, the kind of afternoon and evening of the second to last day, when I kind of lost that feeling. I lost that feeling for like 10 hours. And then I suppose that was the point where, the shit hit the fan, like where all of a sudden I was questioning whether I'd be able to make it, whether I'd be able to do it. And from being pretty relentless in my forward motion for pretty much all of it, for that particular 10 hours, it was a struggle. I felt like I'd lost a bit of my life force, a bit of my chi, that kind of energy, that kind of energy that you can't really replenish. It wasn't a fueling thing, like eating gels or eating food wouldn't have replenished that energy. It wasn't even, I wasn't even like, it wasn't a sleep deprivation thing. It wasn't something asleep. I just felt really low on energy. Like when you play those computer games, those fighting computer games, and your life force is down on that red thing, when one more kick and you're down, that's what I felt like. And so it was tough, because when the finish line had been so clear in my mind, and I just knew I was going to get there. And for those 10 hours, that finish line kind of like became cloudy and disappeared. And so eventually we agreed that it wasn't really worth me trying to carry on. So I stopped. It was probably about 12 o'clock at night, and I had a 3 hour sleep and got back up, and I had I think maybe 87 miles more to go to the finish. And as soon as I got going on that last day, that feeling just came back to me again. And I just knew it was fine. From the first 2 miles of that last day, I was just, I was never not going to finish. In my mind, it came back to me. I just felt, it was, I just felt that it was going to happen. And the last day it was beautiful, Mel. It was like the sun was out and the whole road is kind of next to the sea. And I don't know, it was just, I have never felt as one with everything as I had on that last day. I don't know, maybe because you're really tired, it's hard for your mind to really think about other things. And I was my mind was empty, and it was just, I felt so connected to I just felt so part of everything that was going on around me. It was just, yeah, it was hard. It's hard to explain, but it was just, it was quite blissful. It was really tough. I mean, it was really tough, but it was quite blissful how it, I was just running on my own. I didn't want anyone to run with me, or Robbie tried for about 2 miles, and it just, it was like he kind of got in the way of my bliss a little bit, and I think he realized that. So and then he kind of left me alone, and it was just, so it was really only that, that afternoon where things were a little bit sketchy.
And was it the 3 hour sleep? Was that the main thing that kind of restarted you a little bit, or re-energized you?
I think it must have been, because actually that 3 hour sleep was the kind of deepest sleep I'd had for the whole journey. I really did sleep like properly. It was, so it was perfect. But I mean, like, it sounds like the whole thing was easy though, but it was tough. Like, as with anything like that, as the days go on, you start, obviously you get more tired and you start to deteriorate. As you go on, things get harder. But it was mainly that afternoon. And I was and it's always really, because when I woke up from that sleep, you just don't know. You don't know whether it's going to carry on like it had done the night before, or whether there's going to be that you're going to be fresher and it's going to work. So, that kind of, I was saying, that first 2 miles of that day, when it kicked in and I started to feel good again, it was just it was just amazing. Because it could have been much, much harder.
Sounds like you just had a descent, mate, and then you kind of had like you had the benefit of that coming out of it, and ascent back into the good place.
Yeah, it's right. And it's, you have to, and it's important, isn't it? Those descents and those down bits are important, because there always becomes like not a high, but there's always an up after them, isn't there? So, they are just part of life.
So I'm just going to I'll ask you that. So you never experienced that sensation, that feeling, that oneness in any of your other really long races, like the 6-day race, or were any of the other ones?
No, I have done. Not momentarily, but I have done before, but there was something, I think this one felt different, because so in the 6-day race, there's no outside help, if that makes sense. You're just running around like a little track, and there's no, the kind of outside world doesn't help you. If you're going to get there, you need to get there from your own, in your mind. But that makes sense. Like when you're running around a track, your mind's got to get you there. But out in like I don't know what they call it, but that north part of Scotland is the scenery is so dramatic, and there was blue sky, like big blue sky. The sun was out. The sun was reflecting off the water. Like we were up on the road, you could look down on the water. When you look behind you, there were these big mountains behind you. So it's almost like that landscape makes it so much easier to get to that, place, because you don't have to imagine it in your mind and put yourself there. You're just in it already. If you just don't think of anything and just be, then you are what's all around you. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, if you're at one with the world and the universe, which largely is nature, as you explain it, the sun and the water and the sea and the land, like if there's no boundary between that body of energy and the energy that you are as a person, then I think that is that oneness, isn't it? Like,
yeah, definitely. And it's easier. Yeah, it's easier to do it when there's an unbroken horizon and there's a huge blue sky, because you can see the vastness of everything. But when you're on a track running around, like a sports centre, it's harder to see. It's harder to see it. It's not impossible at all, but you need to work it a bit more to use your imagination a bit more to see that kind of energy, But on that last day, it was just everywhere. Yeah, you couldn't help but be part of it,
Wow. And so, what about the hardest part in terms of like physical pain? Were there any moments there? I do recall, I have listened to a couple of chats you've had with a good friend of ours as well, James Elson, Centurion. Hey, shout out to James. We love you, mate. And I think you were recalling the moments where you had this real humid weather, and it brought on some just incredible chafe in the groinage region. I feel free to recall that story for us, actually, mate. But like physical pain throughout this adventure it's got to be with you all the time, surely, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and yeah, I mean, yeah, the chafing was. It's more of it's more uncomfortable than painful, isn't it? Yeah, it was humid. Yeah, and I was sweating a lot, and not being able to keep control of my chafe around the groin area, which meant like quite a bit of like standing naked on the side of like kind of motorways. Yeah, trying to sort myself out. But I mean, the actual physical pain, I don't think it gets any worse from the first day. I don't know. It can't really get any worse. You just, it's just there. It's part of ultra running, isn't it? That physical pain, and it's, you just live with it. And what I find is when the best way to stop any physical pain is to actually run. So it's always worse when you stop, or for me, when I walk. So if I can just keep running, then it kind of nulls the pain, like dulls the pain enough to not be a problem. But as soon as I slow down or I walk or I stop, that's when it's most painful. So when I was running, it wasn't so bad, but when I'd stopped at a night and when I was trying to sleep, that's when I would like moan and like cry out in pain, because that's when my legs hurt the most. So yeah, it was just best to keep moving.
Wow. So within that, I kind of like, I feel like there's some mind trick that you're playing on yourself with that, but at the same time, I understand that it can just be that physical distraction of continuing to run and not need to be like a specific kind of mindset thing that you're employing or mental strategy of toughness. But do you use those strategies? Like, what do you do for the mental toughness side of things? Like, how do you like work on that element of your running and that element of your abilities as an ultra runner?
I don't think I do work on it. I think as with anything, if you like, I don't believe when I'm running, I don't really believe it is mentally tough, because if you start concentrating on the fact that this is going to be mentally tough, then it becomes mentally tough. I think that, if that makes sense, like I think like the best thing for me is just to remember, like there's no other way I'd rather spend 2 weeks than like running up the country with a group of really like wonderful friends, like there's like if I stopped one day and I just think, I wish I could go back and do that again, like it's I don't really think it is mentally tough. I'm doing something like we said earlier, to go back, I'm doing something I really love doing and have a massive passion for doing. So it can't be mentally tough to do something you like doing. Yeah, your legs hurt a bit, but I don't think it is. It would be more, I'd find it much more mentally tough to go into an office and work in an office for 8 hours, and because that's what I don't enjoy doing. So I think, yeah, maybe I'm just lucky like that. Yeah. Like I know on the last day, Robbie was saying, "Oh, like you've done so well. Like you've been so like tough," and it was like, what? I don't know. It just doesn't seem like that. Yeah.
Yeah. No. I mean, it's more of a gift than any form of pain, I suppose. Like you say, mate. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Would you do anything differently from what you did out there?
What, in order to get a better time, or to get a
Well, I mean, do you look back on the experience as a whole and do you think I would have done that a bit differently? Like that would have altered your time or your experience or the impact you had through ReRun? Like, is there anything that you, well, because you're obviously going to go out there and do it again because you enjoy it so much, right, mate? So like, what are you going to do different next time?
I don't know. There's not that much. The only things I do focus on sometimes when I think back to it is so we talked about my crew and the amount of time my crew give up and the amount of like energy they give to me to kind of achieve my goal, and then during the run you have, or we did have a lot of other like runners that come and run with me, for 5K, some around like 50K. And I often feel that I wish I could have been more grateful. I try to say thank you to them. But I wish I could somehow explain to those runners like how much energy I was able to draw from them and how much a difference they make to that day when they come out, for me getting to the end. I think that's the only thing I regret sometimes, is like they kind of run for a bit and then you just carry on running and they just drop off and go back home, and you think, oh, I wish I could have really said thank you and really that's the only thing. I mean, it went pretty smoothly and I really enjoyed it. And I don't think that particular journey, maybe I'll never do it again, because it was one of those ones that was just, I don't feel like there was anything we could have done better or anything that could have made the experience that much better. So there's no need to go back and do that.
Yeah, it's kind of nice to hear that you don't have that pressure or that desire to need to go back right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure as a true ultra runner that you are, mate, it's going to pop up somewhere that you didn't expect and you'll be like, ah, damn.
Yeah, I'll live to regret saying that, yeah.
And that little seed's going to grow into a big bloody oak tree, and then the next thing you know, you're standing at the start again going, well, here we go, lads and ladies, let's do it. Do you have any, like, I don't want to ask what's next, because I hate when someone
we
has...
know what's next, Mel. Me and you are running a 6-day race, yeah?
Yes. How have I already forgotten that? Oh, mate. I'm gonna have to reach out to Robbie, and I'm gonna have to get on your program, mate, because I know that my sponsorship with ReRun isn't going to come along until I get a bit faster and I turn into a little bit more of a legitimate athlete. I can tell you that much. So when because I know the goodness is at ReRun, and any person who's serious about getting some sponsorship through running is in line to work with you guys. So once I get ready for this 6-day race, man, I'm going to reach out with a little application form. All right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We don't pay that well. we can give you all the secondhand trainers you need, and dye some of your tops with onion skin. But yeah, you're going to get.
As long as you can feed me the onions as well, mate, you might have a deal there, mate.
No problem, man. Yeah.
Well, Dan, I'm conscious of your time, mate. You've been over generous considering that we only had a little bit of time today. But look, mate, it's like I'm going to put this out to you, and I want you to be super honest about this. Is there anything that you've had so many interviews about this journey, and you've had to speak to so many questions that get asked about what you've just done. But is there anything that you wish you could talk about that relates to this journey or your whole experience ultra running to date that you never get asked about?
No, I think it's been good, this chat, because I think you've let me venture off into the spiritual side a bit more. Yeah. Sometimes I think that's forgotten in interviews and how important that is, especially in ultra running and those long distance ultra runs. Because for me, it's not, like Robbie would probably disagree, but it's not about, like we're saying, kit and the right fuel and do you know what I mean? There's another thing you have to connect to kind of enjoy and to make them successful. And yeah, you've allowed me to talk about that, so it's nice. Yeah.
Mate, that's why our 6-day race is going to be nothing but chats. I'll tell you what, we're going to. I really feel like, if you and me went running for 6 days, we would obviously we'd have to work out a plan whereby you would maybe run 2 laps every time I run 1 lap, and we.
Yeah, well, it sounds like a great idea. Yeah,
unless we get on the Robbie Britton program, but and as we transcend those layers of thought and of mind and break through into different levels of frequency and
imagine what we'd be, after that, the 4th or 5th day, be wonderful.
Imagine the chats, mate. Oh my God, it would be incredible. I appreciate that, Dan, and I think that I think you're right. But you led on to it before. It's in our world still. It's considered this airy fairy topic that doesn't really exist. And I do understand the sports science and all the metrics that can be measured play a part. And a lot of people love that. They absolutely love that, and it drives businesses and it drives it drives so much in regards to performance. But there is this side that has been forgotten in our times, and it's still there. It still exists, and you're someone who speaks to it and experiences it, mate. Like, no one can tell you that you didn't experience what you experienced, and the way you described it, honestly, mate, it's beautiful. Like it's an untapped energy as well, isn't it? We're connected to this resonating buzz that's all around us, and we can use that energy, it's like free energy, if we can just open up ourselves to it. It's out there for us to all enjoy, but it's just a question of just kind of seeing it and opening up and realizing that we are it and it is us. Did you ever speak about that with Richard Brown? Is he that way inclined? Yeah,
Richard is wonderful. Yeah, he really is. Richard is, so I've spent a bit of time. So Richard can join us for the 6-day chats as well, because he might be round on the loop. But
excellent.
Yeah, Richard will cycle behind me, especially like a couple of times. And on this particular journey, he was behind me for a few hours on a few days, and Richard is just wonderful. He will just point out constantly the beauty around us. He'll point out the call of the buzzard up above, and he'll point at the trees and how they're swaying so beautifully in the wind. He does it constantly. It's wonderful. Yeah, it really is wonderful. So
that's
he's
special.
there. Yeah.
That's I'm so glad that he can join us on our 6-day run. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
I mean, one more. Do you think have you ever come across many other ultra runners in the space, or do you think many of them have gone before us that probably did really tap in, like, you know, the people that like have set records and things like that. Do you think they went that far to those places, but maybe not spoke about it?
Yeah, of course they are. All ultra runners are in that space, yeah, because you all, that's part of the lure of ultra running, I think, is you get, like, you can sit and meditate for 10 or 15 minutes, and to learn that practice takes a while. But if you go and run a 100-mile race, at some point in that 100-mile race, you're catapulted into that kind of that realm of meditation. You know, it you can access it without the kind of practice like of your mind, because you get to that point, you know, like, yeah, the layers are stripped away from you, you know, those kind of layers that we use in like everyday life. After 100 miles are stripped off a little bit, and you emotionally, and you leave yourself a bit barer, and I think you get to those places without even trying. Whether people realize they're there, I don't know, but yeah, I'd say that most ultra runners have experienced those kind of, that stillness. So that's why the majority of us run, isn't it? For that headspace and for that that clearness of mind. It's I think we all experience it. Yeah.
Did you struggle with not being able to run a whole lot straight away after you finished your LEJOG record?
Yeah, I think I was all right for like 3 days, because I was so that kind of whacked from it. But it's not even running; it's like movement for me. It's like so as long as I was walking and my body was moving, I was fine. And I managed to get running, you know, like 6 days afterwards or something, just moving a bit, because I do find, it's or not, maybe I do need it, but it does, it helps. It really helps me. Yeah. So I did struggle only a little bit, you know, when you like see runners outside and you're like, oh, I wish I could be doing that. And you, your legs quite, it's like when you're injured and you see runners and you're like so jealous. But I think, I was tired enough that I didn't struggle. And when I started to come out of that tiredness, I was all right to move a little bit. So it was fine.
Yeah. That it kind of, mate, I just want to ask you just so many more questions, but do you, like, you know how you do such a mission like that, like a really big effort, and you go into this strange space like you were describing before, and then you start having these dreams afterwards that you're kind of in different realities, and you're in the race and you're in the event still, but you're not, because you're sleeping in a bed. And how did that feel after your run? Because I'd imagine that must have been a really, really extreme level of that.
Yeah, I find them, there's two ways. I find them a bit annoying, those kind of dreams, because like after an effort like that, you just want to sleep, and you close your eyes and you don't sleep properly for like at least a week, maybe more, because you're just, like you say, like catapulted into this weird, like kind of sleep running thing, and like a stress. I was that stress that you've got to keep running, so you've got to get somewhere. It's just weird, and it just means that your sleep is so bitty. And like I'd wake up from this dream that I had to run to get somewhere, and like tell myself, no, it's fine. I'm just in bed. I've stopped running. It's all right. And then close my eyes again. I'll be straight back into that place. And it's, it's just annoying. It's annoying. But then when the dreams start to go after like a week, a couple of weeks, you kind of like miss them a little bit as well, because it's like it had such a good time on the run that it's kind of like when the dreams go, that really is like, right, that journey's finished now. Do you know what I mean? It's gone. It's in the past. So it's a like mixed feelings. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hate them, but then kind of like them being there as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're a funny consequence of a long run like that, don't they? Everyone seems to have them. Yeah.
I mean, it's such a fascinating thing that our mind must be going through in those stages of recuperation from such a big effort. Hey, what a cool thing. Yeah. Well, the thing is, Dan, is that we will be able to relive this memory numerous times, because I believe another good friend, actually, I've never met Dave McFarlane, but he was with you as part of your crew. I've heard amazing reports about him from Jordan, the Jordan Trail that you and Robbie ran, and also the recent trip up the UK. So he's putting a film together, mate. When are we going to be able to see a bit of that heart-warming goodness?
Well, that's a question we need to ask Dave. Yeah. I think Dave is hoping in the next few weeks, to put the film together, and he'll put it out. I think on his like free for anyone to watch on his. I think he puts it on Vimeo or something. Yeah. So that would be really nice. Yeah, he's a lovely man, Dave, and I'm sure he's captured all those beautiful moments from the run. Yeah.
Excellent, mate. Well, I cannot wait to watch that. What's it going to be called, mate? Do you know what they're what?
No idea. Yeah.
Can we have a stab in the dark at what you think it might be called? I
don't know. What do you reckon, man? What would you?
If I was to give it a name, I don't know. I would just call it The Oneness of Running, maybe.
The Oneness of Running. Yeah, I like that. Yes. Yeah, that'd be good.
Of course you do, mate. Of course you do. We've just spoke about all that goodness. Of course you love it. Me too.
The airy fairy run. I don't know.
The airy fairy run. The airy fairy run up the coast. Yeah, I like it too, mate. Mate, I promise we're gonna finish this, but it's I honestly can't wait to, we haven't even met in person. I honestly can't wait to meet you in person. It's going to be such a fortuitous moment. It's going to be great.
Cool, man. Yeah, I can't wait. Yeah, looking forward to it.
So keep up the good work. Say hello to Charlotte for us. And please just remember to always give as much shit to Robbie as he passes out to everyone else, mate, because that's the only way. It's the only way he's going to know that we truly do love him, because we do love Robbie and all the work he's done as well. But to you, mate, I hope you're feeling good, and excellent work throughout the year so far. I can't wait to see what you do next, and I can't wait to continue to spread the good word about Dan Lawson and the ReRun world and everything that you do, my friend. You're a very good soul.
Cool, man. Thank you. And you, yeah.
Thanks a lot for tuning in today, everyone. I really hoped you enjoyed the conversation with Dan about his joggle journey. I really appreciate your time and effort in listening to this podcast. So if you have anything to let us know about, please reach out to us. We really do appreciate every message we receive. Until next time, thanks a lot for tuning in.